What's up, guys? It's Anderson,
Christian here.
and on this episode of the funnest podcast ever, we're going to go over something that is extremely uncanny. It's stranger than fiction, is how I like to
Oh, I like your shirt.
preface. Yeah, Stranger Things. That's crazy.
That's a cool shirt, man.
Ouch. But anyways, yeah, it's going to be a good one. So turn on, tune out, drop in, and get ready to ride this wave of weird as we enter 111. Christian, how's it going?
Good. How are you, AK?
I'm splendid all the time.
Every day.
Happy.
Blessed.
Happy.
Happy.
How's everything with you?
Dude, everything's good, man. Like, really good, but
Any weird stuff happened lately?
that's what I was going to get into. I have a little story to share.
Is this UFO related? Is this synchronicities? Is this
None of that.
serial
It's
killers?
Paranormal related. Yeah. Dude.
Oh.
And
Well, our episode's actually weird,
Yeah.
uncanny, but I guess we will ride the wave of the paranormal.
let me take you on this ride. This wave ride. So I don't have very many paranormal current day stories, right? Like, you know, a lot of the stuff, experiences that I've had are more in my
When you were
past, when
youth.
I was younger.
Yeah.
But I have I can't believe I forgot to even tell you this. So I have two stories here, but they're relatable to each other. But one of them is, my sister bought a new house, right?
Yeah.
The first time I went to go visit them, they had already like settled in, or they had just kind of moved in. It was like a couple weeks after. And I go inside the house. It's really nice property. It's like
Is it like
a few acres. It's like countryside.
Oh, okay. So it's not like in a neighborhood or anything.
No. Their closest neighbors are like miles away.
Oh, wow.
I'm touring the house, and I get to their hallway, right? It's not a large house by any means, but it's pretty open. But I get to this hallway, and it's like long black, like pitch black hallway, because like the rooms that surround it, they're all like closed off or whatever, like just doors. There's no like windows, right? And I get further down, or I'm walking down this hallway, and it's pitch black. It's daylight, but the hallway is pretty dark. And I'm heading towards my mom's room, which is supposed to be the very last end of the hallway room.
Gotcha.
And as I'm getting closer, I see a shadow peek out from this room on the right side, and I find out that it's the restroom, right, as I get closer. But I see this like quick like shadow like peek out from the side, just a quick in and out. And I could have swore it was my nephew. Like my first thought wasn't like, oh, this is anything creepy. I thought it was my nephew's like trying to play a prank on me, right?
Yeah.
Trying to like see if I'm getting closer to like spook me out. Because he has like long dark black hair. So I get closer, and I'm ready to be like, ha, you didn't get me. But when I
Joke's on you.
Joke's on me. I take a peek inside the restroom,
Right.
and it's empty.
Ooh.
Completely
chills?
empty.
Did you get the chills?
Oh, hell yeah. I got the chills. I wasn't like scared or anything. I was just like, huh. Okay, I know I saw that. But was it my eyes? It could have been my eyes, because it was pitch black,
Because especially if like you come from like outside and it's bright, and then you go somewhere really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you have like your eyes play tricks on you, but.
So then I leave, and I go back to the kitchen. My mom and sister are like making lunch or whatever, and I have a smile on my face. Like I said, I wasn't scared. I wasn't creeped out. I have a smile on my face, and I was like, "Hey, guys, so I just saw a ghost." And they're like, no, you didn't. Like, and I was like, I did. And I explained what happened. And my mom was like, it was probably just your eyes. Like, I'm telling you, we haven't had any like weird vibes here. It's good. And I was like, okay, sure, right. And my youngest nephew is like super cynical about that stuff, right? super cynical. And he was like, yeah, okay. Did you see Bigfoot too? And I was like, all right, homie, calm down. Calm down. So, but then I was like, all right, it's a coin toss, 50-50. Like it could have been a ghost. Maybe it wasn't a ghost. I don't know. Yesterday, I get a phone call from my mom. And she's like, hey, guess what just happened to me today? And I was like, what's up? And she was like, I saw a ghost today.
Wow.
And I was like, say swear.
Did it peek at her?
No. Even freaking creepier than that, dude. She said she was, let me not tell the story wrong. I believe she was in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And my sister works remotely from home. Okay. And she's in her like living room, like desk space area. And my mom, so like in the kitchen, there's like a small wall with like a little window opening that you can see like, like a piece of the hallway. And then past that is like my sister's work area. And then to the left of the kitchen is like the other living room area. Mm-hmm. That's where the boys usually hang out. And so my mom's cooking and she says that she sees like a freaking shadow figure run straight from the beginning of the hallway all the way down to her bedroom.
Oh my!
Just like shot down, right, as fast as it could. And her first thought was that it was Aiden.
Yeah.
Again, because of the same silhouette-ish,
Yeah.
And I'm getting goosebumps telling the story. She says that she just like sees it shoot down. And she peeked like into the hallway and her door was open, Mm-hmm. And her thought was, it's Aiden. He's trying to play a prank on us. Because apparently he's like notorious for hiding under her bed. Yeah. Like
for fun?
For fun. Like not like, oh, I'm going to go hang out. Like kind of like, I'm going to like, he loves to play pranks. Oh. Okay. So, she sees that and she's thinking like, oh, he went to go hide thinking I didn't see him.
Right.
He's probably hiding under the bed. So she says that like she walks into the hallway, she walks down her room, and she's sure can be that it's Aiden. And she gets into the room and she's like, I know you're hiding under the bed. Like,
oh, she's talking to the freaking ghost.
She's talking to the ghost. And she's like, go ahead and come out. Like, I know you, like, I saw you.
Oh, I got super chills.
And,
because I saw, like, an actual figurine, like, crawling out, like, hands, like, the ring, like.
No, thank God nothing came out. She said she looked under the bed. She didn't see anything. But she was like, Aiden. And, like, she, like, calls out. And she's like, Aiden. And he calls out from the living room, like, all the way at the opposite end of the hall. Oof. And he's like, what's up, Mom? And she's like, you were just in here, right? And he was like, no. And she's like, no, you were, like, because she was so sure. She was like, no, you were just in here. I saw you run. Stop lying. And he was like, no, I'm not, I promise. She's like, Aiden, I swear, stop. Like, tell the truth. And she's like more than certain that like he's lying to her. And he's like, Mom, I'm like, no, I promise. Like, I didn't.
This is like a scary movie. Yeah. I'm watching it in my head.
And she finally believes him. And she's like, well, fuck, I just saw a ghost then. And I was like, told you. Just,
Your psychic
I was like,
intuition was right.
I thought I saw something peek out of that freaking restroom. And when I tell you it's pitch black, Anderson, because when I go and I visit them, I stay in my mom's room. And when I got to go pee, I'll open the door. And I had an instance one night where, like, I had to, like, feel around because, like, the hallway light is just a little bit further down. It's, like, in a weird spot. But, like, the anxiety of, like, finding the light switch from my mom's room to, like, the restroom, which isn't that far. But still, I was just, like, looking around for, like, the restroom light and, but, yeah. I was like, okay, well, good to know. So then she was like, I was like, Mom, have you learned nothing, Mother? I was like, cause she was like, yeah, I'm not scared. She's like, I don't have, which is good. Like, don't get me wrong. That's like a great, like, she's like, I'm not scared. I'm not feeling like bad vibes. She's like, but I'm curious. And I was like, curious about, and she's like, yeah, like I'm curious, like, you know, what, like why it's there. So, you know, and I was like, well, don't get too curious, okay? 'Cause
Tell her
that's
don't talk,
that,
don't speak.
and she knows this, you know. And I was like, well, don't get too curious. Like, whatever it is, that's what it is. Like, let it be. Don't go looking.
Don't
She's
give
like,
it
no,
energy.
yeah. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna like talk to it or anything. But I mean, I'm curious, like what? And I'm like, nope, just stop, just stop. You know, just like leave it where it is. Because from what I'm seeing, if it continues, it looks like it's like wanting to like make itself like seen or whatever, you know.
I think the next step is gonna be the little boy. He's gonna be, once he sees it, then I'm sure like your sister's gonna be like,
the younger one.
Yeah. And
that'll be interesting because if he does see it, I mean, yeah, he can communicate with her. There's some communication. But can you imagine?
Because when you're telling me, when you open the door in the dark and you're trying to find the light, as you're tapping for it, all I saw was like a shadowy hand touch your hand to turn the light on.
Why would you tell me this, bro? I still gotta go back over. Sit there.
I just imagined this right here, like, oh shoot, is this it? And then you feel like,
bro,
a slap on the hand, and the light comes on.
No, I told her they're already looking into like installing like what are they called? Lights that turn on with like movement lights. Yeah.
Good. So when the light's on, you're gonna know somebody.
Dude, that was my first thought. I was like, okay, so when you're chilling like in the room and you see that light flicker, you're gonna wonder like, is it one of the boys?
That's kind of like putting like cameras all over the house.
Yeah.
Like,
as long as they don't put baby powder on the floor, we're good. Do you remember that? That scene still haunts me to this day.
It was baby powder or was it salt?
Baby powder. It was Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, when you see the hoof
baby
marks.
Powder. Yeah.
Oh, that's creepy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, you know.
Wow.
I'm glad that they're not freaked out by it. She's not freaked out by it.
Which is good, because that means she maintains like the energy.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I told her. I was like, you just gotta like vibrate at a higher, energy than, all of it. So
because it's fear that it thrives off.
Exactly. And that's what she said too. So I'm like, okay, you got that part down. Just don't get too like, hey there.
Just make sure your mom gets enough sleep.
Yeah,
because that's usually how they come out to play.
Yeah,
they drain you of sleep.
Yeah,
and then they make you weak, and then they come out, and then you can't do anything about it.
Which is why, and I know we talk about it all the time, which is why, what's it called? Creeps me out so much. The sleep disorder that we always talk about.
Oh, sleep paralysis?
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
That's why that creeps me out so much, because I feel super vulnerable, because I know it's triggered from lack of sleep. My body is exhausted, but my brain is completely 100% active.
Right.
And I feel so drained and so tired. And then to have like weird, creepy shit happen right after that, like it's, it's stressful. It's anxious. But
I recently had a lucid experience about 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah?
It was really crazy, but I couldn't stay in it.
Oh.
Like I dreamt that I walked out my door, and then it wasn't like the front entrance. It was like I was in like an apartment complex with garages, and I just walked out, and I was like, why are there tons of garages here? And I just looked, and I looked around, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's because I'm dreaming. Oh my gosh, I'm awake. I was like, I'm awake in my dream.
Oh wow.
And I was like, this is crazy. And I walked up to the garage to tap on it.
Yeah.
Because I told you every time it happens, I always test the physics. And it was like, doom, 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 doom. Like as I was tapping on it. And then all of a sudden I felt the pool. It's like a sucking vortex. Yep. And I'm like, no, wait. Yep, I didn't get to explore it. And then I started doing the tips, the tip that I told you, where I envision myself, put my hands out and spin in circles to try to trick my left and right hemisphere of my brain. But it didn't happen.
Dude, that's exactly how I got pulled out of my dream when I had sleep paralysis at night, or like lucid dreaming. The one time that I was like, oh my God, I'm dreaming. And it was like, it felt like it was like seconds, like milliseconds. Like once my brain was like, oh, so you think you're gonna do this? It's like,
And then whoop.
Yep. Legit.
And it's like, oh man, I wanted to stay in that space. That's crazy.
So it's on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So not ghost stories.
Not
And
ghost stories. It's not one of those episodes.
funny thing is, the reason why we even started talking about the paranormal stuff is because before we started this episode, I was like, yeah, I miss my Uncle David. I really do. And I was like, I wish he was here still, you know? And then we were just like kind of like sitting here, and then all of a sudden we hear shuffling, like something falling. And we're looking around, and I'm like, what fell? And then Christian's like, oh, those boxes back there. And she said that they had been standing up.
Yeah,
with
they had
perfect
been
balance.
like leveled. It's like a bunch of like empty boxes, like flat boxes, but they were leveled like on whatever it is that's underneath it.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at that the entire time, and I was like, man, it looks pretty stable for like not being stable.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And
So it could have just been sheer coincidence of like the movement of the fan or something, but I don't know, because the very first night that we ever recorded any podcast, do you remember the couch that's sitting in front of us?
Yeah.
It sounded literally like somebody got off of the couch, like that was sitting there. Yeah. So then I was like jokingly telling David if he was here, I was like, hey, can you turn off that light right there?
I know, and I was like, don't even, Anderson, don't you even
Because imagine if it flickered.
Anderson, I would be creeped out. I'd be like, all right, you know what? I'm head out.
All right, I'm going to exit 111.
I'm going to be that SpongeBob meme. All right, I'm head out. Because I could not do it.
Now, this is a safe space. You're good.
Oh, no, I know for sure.
So for the agenda, I wanted to talk about something pretty personal. I don't really share this story because I used to never even tell anybody because I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah.
Like, legit. Like, I was like, man, I don't know if this is, like, real, because it was just stranger than fiction. And to most people that, like, hear it, they're just like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's kind of out there, you know? But to me, it was such a big deal because I was like, man, like, I had so many, like, synchronistic things happen in the same, like, month.
Yeah.
And I think I was, like, 25 years old. And I was around the time, like, starting to get heavily into, like, meditation and going into, like, trance-like states, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I used to come home from work, and I used to just take a 1 hour, like, power nap. But the power nap would always be me putting on headphones and meditating. And the meditation tracks, they were off of CDs. So the quality was really good, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, I'd say, like, it'd been a year or two of just, like, on and off meditation and, like, really starting to get into it. But I started having all these synchronistic things happen to me this 1 month. It was, like, I think it was, like, June or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into this state one night where I was, like, completely relaxed. I was laying in my bed, and I was looking up at my the top bunk, because I had a bunk bed. And I was just staring at the bunk, and I was just thinking, like, all right, let's go deep. Let's go into a deep meditation. And I started doing the breathing exercise. And then, like, the music was just kind of, like, subduing, and it, like, really put me into, like, submission. I was just, like, let my mind just wander.
Yeah.
And when I was, like, in that state, I remember in my head I said, what am I? Right?
Okay.
Just in my head I said that. I was like, what am I? And then I got, like, this, like, telepathic voice or feeling. It came back to me. It was more like a female voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, you're made of stardust. And I was like, then where am I from?
Mm-hmm.
And then the voice came back and it said, you're from the Pleiades. You're from the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I just kind of, like, was thinking there in that entranced state.
Yeah.
And I was like, did I just imagine that? Like, did I just make that up? Because, you know, like, it's the same concept as, like, you're dreaming, daydreaming.
Yeah.
Daydreaming can be confusing if you're deep, right? So I felt like that was more like a daydream. So I was like, the Pleiades, what is that? So when I woke from it, I went onto my computer and I typed in Pleiade, and I typed it like Pleiades, or something like that. Pelidea. And lo and behold, there's actually a constellation called the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this can't be real. Like, this isn't real. You know, like, how I must have heard that word maybe in science class or something. But at the time, I remember thinking, like, this is really weird, man. Like, this is so strange. And it kind of goes back to that same where, remember, when I typed it in, it showed the blueprints of the alien ship, the Pleiades, or that race, supposed race of, like, people from the Pleiades, whatever. And I was like, this is weird. It's kind of weird, but I didn't think too much of it. And then later that week, I was watching this movie called Sunshine by Danny Boyle. Did you ever see that?
Mm-mm.
You've never seen
no,
Sunshine?
I have. Yeah.
It's a really
Takes place
cool,
in outer space.
Yeah, and it was one of the better space films in recent times. I mean, Interstellar hadn't come out yet.
It was a good film.
So it was really cool. It was interesting. And, like, there's a scene, and I'm watching this for the first time, and there's a scene where, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Sunshine, but there's a scene where this guy basically is, the space station takes a small little rocket ship, and they go to this other orbiting space station that's just been missing with no communication for, like, years.
Yeah.
And when they get there, they find that there's actually one inhabitant still alive. And the first thing he, like, says to them is, he goes, "We are all made of stardust." And when he said that, I got the sharpest, most electrifying chill down my back.
Yeah, I bet, man.
Like, it resonated so deep that I was like, it took me almost like out of body. Like, it was like, what? That's weird, you know? And so for the longest time, I was like thinking the syncs were there. Like, it's really odd, you know? I felt like I was going crazy because it's like, maybe I'm just looking for signs. Maybe I'm trying to correlate everything to make sense. Yeah. So I'm always like, oh, look, there's a sign there for me. Oh, this pattern, you know? And, but I wasn't looking for that. Yeah. I wasn't trying, you know? But one day, shortly after that, I randomly was like, I don't even know why I got the inclination to do it, but I searched my name on Google.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we've all been there.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like, out of curiosity, I was like, let me just, I don't know. I don't even know why I did it. And Google was still brand new.
Yeah.
And when it came up, this author came up.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that caught my attention was the cover of the book. It, like, spooked me. Mm-hmm. It just, like, it just couldn't be real. I was like, this can't be. I'm going nuts.
Wow.
Right? And this book, the first thing I saw, I didn't see who it was written by. I didn't see the title. The only thing I saw was my name on the book. Mm-hmm. Literally.
Yeah.
Like, my name, Anderson Kith, on a book.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't real.
What's happening?
Yeah. And I go and I look up, I look at the book, and it's a science fiction book. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I told you, like, when I was younger, I used to always, I was fascinated with space.
Yeah.
Super fascinated. I remember telling my grandpa when I was like 4 or 5, I had this, like, encyclopedia with pictures in it, and I remember pointing at, like, the astronaut.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know what they did. Mm-hmm. I just knew that he was on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like a drawing. But it's so strange to me that I saw this book with my name on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy the book. I was like, this is weird. But I looked up the author, and the author is a famous American science fiction author. Mm-hmm. And he writes about this race of people. Mm-hmm. They're called the Kiths.
That's so crazy.
Is that weird? They're called the Kiths, and guess where they're from?
From the stars?
They're from the stars.
Damn, dude.
They're
That's
called
so wild.
They're called starfarers.
Wow.
Isn't that super insane?
That is really crazy.
And so I was like, this is like so far fetched. This is stranger than fiction. You remember that movie with Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Stranger than fiction, where he was like, hello?
The narrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This felt like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So then I dig a little bit deeper, and I'm looking for this author. And I want to write, like, to this guy. I want to be like, hey, why did you come up with that name?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so his name is Paul Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
But his book is called, one of his books, it's called Morai and Kith.
Yeah.
The Morais are from the people of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
The Kiths are people of the stars.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because, like, growing up, I was, like, super fascinated with both.
Yeah.
Right? I was always into, like, Atlantis, like, history.
Yeah.
Well, not really history because, you know, it's not real.
Yeah.
But I was always fascinated with that story, right? And then a friend at the time, who's now going to be my future wife, I told her this secret because I was like, I don't want you to think I'm crazy, you know? And I told her the whole thing, and she was like, wow, that's really weird. And for my birthday, she actually bought me the book.
Yeah.
And I never actually read it.
You need to read it,
I
man.
know.
You need to read
Everybody
it.
always tells me, like, how are you not going to read that book? I would have read that book first thing when I got it. But anyways, I know the viewers can't see this, but here's the book. So if you look here for those on YouTubes, you can see the first thing I saw. I mean, I know it's not in line.
No, but it's still pretty. Your eyes gravitate towards it because.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it gravitates
That's
because
what I mean,
my
like
name.
you. Like, I can see why it gravitated.
Literally has my name up here and then my last name right here.
Yeah.
You know? And I just thought that was so weird. So I need to find Paul Morai.
Oh, that's a good question.
I need to find
He's your
listeners,
long lost
my sworn enemy,
relative.
my sworn enemy from the sea.
Yeah.
If I'm from the stars,
He's an alternate version of you.
he is my nemesis.
Yeah.
Paul Morai, wherever you are, I'm here. Anderson Kith.
You can find me on Pinterest.
That's how we're gonna meet when we finally go to Pinterest. But anyways, yeah, it was so weird. This book, it's really interesting. I haven't read it, but it's all about this race of people who go and create these little, I guess they colonize different planets, but they create little ghettos. And I'm like, damn.
I think I read something like Kith Towns. Like
Kith Towns, yeah. But yeah, did you happen to see any interesting facts about the author? The crazy thing is, like, this book was released in 82. I was born in 83.
That is really weird. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right? That's pretty weird. The author is no longer with us. I wanted to reach out to him, but yeah.
So I was like, I Googled it, just a quick little search, and I was reading some reviews on the book, and I saw one that says, this book collects several of Paul Anderson's short stories written in the 1950s and 60s about a past nuclear apocalyptic culture with the dominant Polynesian culture and eventually a starfaring culture. There are some high points and some awkward writing, but since it's Paul Anderson, there's a lot of good storytelling.
Wow.
That was a pretty cool review that I thought. And then I went ahead and Googled just starfaring culture because I had never heard that up until...
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard you mention it before.
Sometimes I use it as my alias.
Yeah. And I read a little wiki article on a better description of the Kith people. The Kith are a starfaring culture featured in a number of science fiction stories by American writer Paul Anderson. The Kith develop out of early interstellar explorers in the 21st and 22nd centuries. Because of the effects of time dilation associated with travel at near light speeds, the Kith maintain separate settlements called Kith Towns, in which care was taken to keep their language and culture consistent over the course of millennia.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think you need to read that book, Anderson. Like, you need to report back. Read it and report back.
Hey, season 2.
The listeners want to know.
Season 2, I will reveal what this book is about. It might be about my life. It might be about my past life.
Honestly.
It might be about my future life.
Yeah.
Maybe I traveled to the ghetto. First thing I opened up, ghetto. No, maybe I'm a part of this time traveling program.
Dude,
how crazy would that be?
The fact that it's post-apocalyptic and it talks about, early interstellar explorers in the 21st and 22nd centuries. Maybe that's
maybe I get selected to go to colonize a different place.
You've been space drafted.
That's crazy. But just think of it like this, okay? How weird is it that there's also a book out there that kind of follows a character called Baron von Trump?
Yeah,
have you seen that?
You've mentioned it to me before. I haven't looked into it.
It is so wild that exists. It is so wild that exists because there are some people out there that think Donald Trump's a time traveler because of like the stuff that's written in that book. It's like relevant to now.
Yeah.
Like I remember I opened up a few pages online and just the first thing we read was like, there will be a civil war amongst the communities in America or something like that. And the police or something will be like attacked. And it's just really strange that, that book exists and that a lot of the things that it talks about are real. And the person that's traveling, his name is Baron von Trump. But maybe Donald Trump read this book and it was in his and he named his kid that just because. That could be another thing,
Yeah.
But if not, man, what are the odds? That's a really weird coincidence because that was written in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And it's about time traveling. How many authors from the 1800s be writing about time traveling? You tell me. Right?
Yeah, I doubt it was. I mean, the imagination holds no bounds,
Yeah.
There's somebody in the 1800s thinking of, if only I could live in a different time.
Yeah.
You never know.
Just being very creative, going deep. Maybe they're in an entranced state and they're like, what's the future look like? And all of a sudden they got visions of the future, because this, to me, freaked me out pretty bad. This science fiction
I don't know if I found the right ones when we started looking for this. Because this is saying that there are 2 children's novels. Are they children's novels?
Are they children's novels?
That's what's coming up here. Saying that the Baron Trump novels are 2 children's novels written in 1889 and 1893.
Yeah, those are right.
By American author and lawyer Ingersoll Lockwood.
Yep.
They remained obscure until 2017 when they received media attention for perceived similarities between the protagonist and U.S. President Donald Trump.
Wow.
And it goes on to give you a small little description of what they're called or what they're about. Did you get a chance to read those or any excerpts from?
No, I just remember thinking how cool it was that somebody had figured that out.
So it says in July 2017, the books were rediscovered by internet forum users and then by media who pointed out similarities between the protagonist and U.S. President Donald Trump. Jamie Fuller wrote in Political that Baron Trump is precocious, restless, and prone to get in trouble. He often mentions his massive brain and has a personalized insult for most people he meets.
How weird is that?
Fuller also notes that Baron Trump lives in a building named after himself, Castle Trump, while the real-life Donald Trump had lived in Trump Tower for decades.
Yes.
Furthermore, Donald Trump's youngest son is named Baron Trump. Chris Ryota noted in Newsweek that Baron Trump's adventures begin in Russia.
Oh, my God.
Ryota also mentioned another book of Lockwood's, 1900, or The Last President, in which New York City is riven by protests following the shocking victory of a populist candidate in the 1896 presidential election, who brings on the downfall of the American Republic.
Whoa.
Like, should we be reading these?
We should be reading them.
That's
learn.
crazy. That's
time
just
travel.
That's too similar.
Yeah, and how is it even a coincidence? Like, is that what you call coincidence? Like, the odds of that, 1892?
Yeah.
That's 100+ years ago.
Yeah. You can't even explain that. If you're listening, comment, give us a good explanation on how that's even possible. Make it make sense.
Please, if we're shifted into some like alternate reality because of people time traveling, you guys messed up the timeline. You guys really messed up the timeline.
Now we're living through the ween.
We're living through the ween, and it's not fun anymore. Like, customer service sucks everywhere you go. And it's just like the extreme. Like, people just do not want to work. They don't want to serve you. They don't want to say hi when you come in. It's really bad.
Yeah, really bad.
I'm thinking, like, what alternate is this? Like, this is really crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to get off this ride.
But
Let me off this ride,
we're on
please.
this wave. We're on this wave. We're living life through the ween.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a pretty crazy find, Anderson. I really hope you read that book.
I know. This goes to show, like, my interest in, like, the uncanny just from experiences like this, you know? Like, it's not like, yeah, I went looking for it in the sense that I typed my name, but I didn't know the odds would be, like, there would be a book out there that related to the synchronicities that I was experiencing that month prior. Mm-hmm. It's just the timing was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, like, it would have been different if I would have, like, somebody would have been like, oh, dude, I saw this weird book. I thought it was, like, written by you. It had your name on it or something. Then I'd be like, oh, that's weird. Oh. But it's just the timing and the structure, you know?
Yeah.
It was just really bizarre.
Anderson, the first time you told me that story, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. Because I think that's when we both realized, like, we had a very special connection.
Yeah.
Like, in relation to our friendship. Mm-hmm. Because of what I told you.
Oh, yeah. That was really weird.
And I had never heard anybody ever say something like that. And I didn't walk around telling people that because, you know, it can sound a little, like, silly and elementary, you know. But to share with our listeners. So me and Anderson were hanging out at the gym one day, or I don't know, we're hanging out somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I told Anderson that, you know, when I was little, my mom and grandmother would always make a big fuss about, you know, how special I was and this and that. I mean, as every parent or grandparent does with their, you know, children. But I had it set in my head since I was little, like since as far back as I can remember, that I was from the stars. And
that's crazy.
They would just, you know, constantly like, oh, you know, my mom was always like, oh, I dreamed you. Like, basically everything I wanted in a little girl, you became. I wanted her to have curly hair, dark brown curly hair. You know, I wanted her to have fair skin, this and this and this and that, you know, and I basically wished you into existence, and you came from the stars. And my grandmother, same thing, constantly like, you came from the stars. And I've always had a very special, close connection to, like, the star symbol. Mm-hmm. It's like a big thing. Like, even like, you've seen that Mexican bingo game, Loteria, like, you know, it's common for, you know, someone to be attached to, like, a certain figurine on their mind. Since I was little, has always been the star. It's just been, like, something that's been very close to me. But not even that, but since I was little, I've always had, like, a really deep interest and connection with, like, space.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think I mentioned that to you before.
Yeah.
Like, one of my, like, favorite memories, and I think I've said it on the podcast before, is being little and coming back home from going on, like, a trip to NASA and just seeing how everything worked, and, like, just coming back and, like, feeling all the, like, that feeling of excitement, like, oh, wow, we can travel to other planets. We can, like, there's so much more out there than what we know right now. And more to discover, you know, and more to find. And the thought of being in space has always stuck with me. And for a really long time, I wanted to become an astronaut. I didn't know what it would take to get there. You know, I should have invested more of my time and energy into like the subjects that pertain to, you know, becoming an astronaut. But
Right.
and then you grow out of it, you know, and then you kind of like get different interests and stuff like that. But for the longest time, I mean, even now, like if I had the opportunity to go to space, I would jump on that in like a heartbeat, you know. But I think that's like really cool that like we shared that common interest like very early on.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember when you told me that, I remember I was like, okay, so you won't just think that I'm making this up. Remember that?
Yeah.
I was like, so you know I'm not making this up. I was telling Christian that on my Facebook profile at the time, my quote, because you could put like a quote you know, that you live by or whatever. Well, in that quote, I mean, this was like, we're talking like 2007, 2008, when all this stuff started happening. No, maybe it was like more like 2009.
Yeah.
But I wrote in my quote that I'm from the stars.
Yeah.
But when I wrote that, I was like, I hope people don't think like that. I mean, like I'm like special, like I'm gonna go to Hollywood and be a star.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was like, it was more about the entranced state that I was in, the message that I got, wherever it came from, and that was that. It was very, I guess, like shrouded in like mystery for people that didn't know, you know. And I told Christian, I was like, just so you know that I'm not just making up a story about all that. I opened up my Facebook and I let her read the quote.
Yeah.
And this was like literally right after she had told the story of when she was younger, her mom and her grandmother would tell her that she was from the stars.
Yeah. That's so crazy, dude. It's still
that I remember when that happened. I was like, "That's weird."
Yeah,
I was like, "That's weird."
Because I had never heard anybody else talk about that before.
Yeah.
You know,
Stranger than fiction.
Stranger than fiction, man. You can't. It's hard to put an explanation to stuff like that. You know, you can't really make that stuff make sense.
Yeah. I just feel like, yeah. Even when I was younger, I was always like into like space, anything space. I was so enthralled, you know. And I remember when I came to Houston for the first time when I was in 4th grade. It was like my 4th grade summer before going into 5th grade. The one thing that I got so excited about was knowing that NASA existed in Houston. Because I think I thought it was only in Florida.
Yeah.
But that's where they launch, right? So I begged my aunt. I was like, can we go to NASA? Can we, like, that would be so awesome. And, yeah, they took me there. And I was just like, I loved every moment of it. I sat in the exhaust burners and, like, you know, like took all these pictures. And I was the happiest kid. Like,
and do you remember the feeling, like, leaving NASA, just being so excited?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was just like, it feels like when I took my goddaughter to the aquarium.
Yeah.
And she's just like,
in awe.
Oh, yeah. I was like that, but with space.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But I sucked at math. So I was like, no, ain't no way I'm going to be an astronaut. There's no way.
Yeah.
So, you know, for the longest time, I was like, so what does this all mean? You know, like, that's cool. You know, like you have like this little weird rift. You know, like you have this little memorabilia that has your name on it. It's a book. It's got this Native American looking dude that's all jacked with a girl pointing
almost
up.
Almost looks like a romance novel.
Yeah, it does. Like one of those like fantasy romance novels.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's so bizarre, you know. But what does it mean? You know, if the listener's like, so what? Yeah, so what? I don't know. I really don't. I can't be like, the answers to life lie within this novel.
Maybe they do. You just got to read it. You wouldn't know because you haven't read it, Anderson.
That's true. I should read it.
Read the novel.
Look, I'm going to just randomly read a thing. It goes, but it's an enormous capital investment, and after the initial glamour had worn off, the average Solarian just wasn't interested in a hard and lonely life. So today, all spacemen are kithmen, but it was never planned that way. That's what I meant, she said earnestly, and your being different naturally brought suspicion and discrimination. Don't know what that means.
Don't be discriminating.
I know. Don't be afraid of the ghettos. Don't be afraid. Yeah, I'll read this and then I'll tell everybody
I want a book report.
We'll do what do you call it? A book club.
Oh, dude, I've always wanted to start a book club.
Science fiction book club. There you go. No, but yeah, it was one of those, like I said, just a very weird occurrence that happened in my life, you know.
That's really cool though. It's like
and I mean and that's the thing is like I have a lot of weird experiences that are like so uncanny sometimes that I don't know how to like that's why for the longest time I was like I didn't tell anybody about this because I was like I don't want people to think that I'm crazy or something, you know. Like,
and it's understandable. It's
just so bizarre. It's so bizarre that it's like, you know, what does it mean?
I mean, it could mean a number of things. I think it's strange coincidence, or is it coincidence, you know, that it was written a year before your birthday, you know, before the year you were born.
Yeah.
You know, because they could have the titling, like the graphic design work on that book, like, you know, they could have just put the name of the book and then left like.
But it's the author's name is. But
it's the way it's positioned. It's the graphic design for that.
Here you would never notice.
Exactly on the side, you know.
On the side, it just you would never.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it from the side. I saw it from the front.
Yep.
And from the front.
It's very much down, Anderson Kith. Yeah.
He was just like, "What's my name doing on a book?"
Yeah.
I didn't write that.
Yeah. And then just the content, you know, starfaring people.
Exactly.
Starfaring people. That's
right after I got into that weird meditative trance state.
Yeah.
And I got the voice that just was like, boom, you know. But to be fair, that I feel like that telepathic voice I've heard later in life as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's one time where when I was living in my other apartment, I fell asleep watching some film, and I woke up. Like, before I woke up, I was like it was that couch in front of us, right? And I dreamt that I was just staring out into a field, and the field had power lines, and then I looked out, and the sky was purple, like a dark purple. It looked like it was already like night, right? And I remember looking out, and I was watching the light show. It was lightning, no rain, just lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was staring out to it, I was like, I think I remember asking, like, am I on the right path? Like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And then I got like that telepathic, that voice, that lady's voice was like, all the paths that you take will lead you to where you're supposed to be no matter what.
Yeah.
And then like I literally watched like this light show, like the lightning like create like this pathway.
Wow.
And it struck so hard, like the thunder like clapped so hard that when I woke, it wasn't like a normal like where I wake up and I'm still kind of like exhausted. It was literally like I opened my eyes and I was like not where I was at there.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like I just opened my eye. I opened my eyes and I was like, what happened? Like,
yeah.
It was so bizarre. So, yeah, it's pretty weird.
That's really cool, man.
Maybe it's like my subconscious.
It's your higher self.
Or my higher self. That's a lady with a beautiful voice. She's like, child, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
You know, like who knows? But I'm all for like interesting experiences, I guess.
We all have them. You know, my mom had and that story sticks with me like to this day because it's weird. She had this experience when she was younger. I think she was a teenager. She was at home by herself, and my grandmother and grandfather were working, I think, and she has an older brother and an older sister who weren't there. I think her brother was working too. But she's at home by herself, asleep, and the story goes that she kept hearing a voice in Spanish, a very soft woman's voice that kept telling her, it was calling her by her name, and it was like, she said that she felt something caressing her hair.
Ooh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, like she felt something like softly, like good vibes for sure, but
Okay.
caressing her hair, and was like, "Get up and go lock the door.
Wow.
Get up and go lock the door." And I kept calling her by her name and get up and go lock the door. And she was like, she didn't know what it was, but she was tired. She was like, "What? No, I'm sleeping." And she kept hearing the voice. And finally she got up and she went to go lock the door.
Uh-huh.
At the same time this is happening, because when she tells the story to my grandmother, they, link up stories. At the same time, my grandmother had a really strange gut feeling. And she just like felt very uneasy. And she calls my mom's brother, my uncle, and tells him, "Hey, go check on your sister. Like, I don't know why, but I just feel like something's wrong." She says that he races home, and I guess nearby, not in front of the house, but nearby was like a group of like strange men.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like luckily, thank God nothing happened, but who knows?
Yeah, they were probably breaking into houses or something.
You don't know, and that could have been. So she sees it as like, was it my guardian angel? Was it like my higher self? Like, like what was it that was like subconsciously, like telling me that like get up and go lock the door? You know? So I mean, those voices are with us, man. You know, they're there to protect us, whether it's us or guardian angels or like.
I just remember how scared I was a couple years back when we were in the airport and we're about to get on the airplane, and I get a text message from my Uncle David, and he was like, "Hey, Anderson, I need to talk to you." And he never calls me by Anderson. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "I can't. I'm about to get on a flight. I'll text you. I'll call you when I land." And it goes quiet for a couple minutes. And then, like, out of nowhere, we're sitting in the airport, remember?
I remember.
Even having our Starbucks or whatever it was. Yeah. And we're about to board. Like, they started calling, like, Group A. And all of a sudden, he's texting. And he's like, "Do not get on the airplane." And I look at the text. I'm like, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that because my Uncle David at the time, he was... I think he was just going through like a delusional episode, because he was having sleeping problems and he wasn't like in his right mind. Yeah. And I knew that. I knew that something was wrong, especially when he texted me. He was like, "Anderson, call me. I need to talk to you."
Yeah.
Because he doesn't usually talk to me like that. So it was very like serious. And I'm not, and all of a sudden my phone starts ringing and it's him, and I'm like, I do not need this right now.
Yeah, especially right before you're gonna take off on a flight.
I was like, I cannot.
It's the last thing you want to hear.
Yeah, and he keeps texting, and it's just like, zzz, 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 zzz. And I'm like, I basically hold my phone like towards Christian, and it just keeps saying, "Do not get on the flight, 911. Do not get on the flight, please, please, Anderson. Trust me, do not get on the flight." And I was just like, oh my God. I was so nervous, because then all of a sudden, where does your mind go? It goes straight to like Final Destination. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Maybe he got some kind of sign that said like, do not have him get on the flight. Just like how we were talking about like that voice. Yeah. And like, I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, we cannot just not go on this flight.
Didn't that flight get delayed? Mm-mm. Or was it our connecting flight?
It was later that night.
It was later that night.
It was the next day.
We had a delayed flight somewhere in that.
It was the next day.
Yeah. Okay.
So that day we got to our destination, which was Virginia.
Yeah.
And then the next day we went to film. When we went to the airport, because that trip everything went smooth. Yeah. We went on 3 flights. Everything went smooth, and then we got stuck. Yeah. But when I got on the airplane,
maybe his message was delayed, Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be.
Like maybe he was warning you from the wrong flight. Now that you think about it, I mean, Because we had like connectivity issues on the second day.
Yeah, that day it got delayed 3 times.
Yeah, and
We were stuck in the airport.
maybe that was the freaking flight he was warning you about, you know.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like, I just remember when we got on the flight, my aunt called me after, and I answered my aunt, and she was like, call him, tell him you're okay and you're not getting on the flight just so he can calm down. He's losing it. And I was like, I can't. And I got yelled at by the air stewardess or whatever. Like, you can't, we're about to take off. Get off the phone. I was like, I'm sorry. You know, like it was an emergency.
Yeah.
And then we take off, and I'm just like praying, like, please, you know, like,
have a safe flight.
Yeah, because God forbid. Man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, you know, it's a coin toss. You never know. I mean, in that instance, it was, especially when you're dealing with planes, you know.
What if we never landed? What if this is he was right the whole time?
So we're in like a lost situation.
We're in like a lost situation, and we have this podcast talking about it. And we're actually, our plane has never been found. How crazy is that?
Dude.
Because after when I called him, he was like, I'm sorry. He was like, I thought it was real, but I think I was dreaming at the same time.
Malaysian Airlines.
Yes, ma'am. So it was really strange. I mean, who knows? Like, I always think about that because I still have his phone call, his message. And I mean, he's passed now. So it's like, I just keep it just to hear his voice, even though it sounds really weird. But yeah, he was just like, he was so, you know, serious when he was like, don't get on the plane, please. And he was crying. He was like, please don't get. And I was just like, dang, man.
The wild part is like, you know, you see that in movies, you know, where that was literally Final Destination, you know, and that's why you're in like this like weird like torn spot, like,
yeah,
like, do
it's
I
like
listen? Like,
you know, I know he's like mentally unstable right now, and is it because of his like, you know, mania that he's going through, or maybe he got like an inclination from his intuition, his gut. Weird. Thank you for listening to this weird episode.
Thanks for riding this wave.
Yes, it was definitely through the ween, and we have 1 episode left.
Uno mas.
The final countdown.
It's the final countdown.
Really appreciate everybody that does listen to the show.
For sure.
We don't promote it as heavily as we should because we're extremely busy.
Yeah.
But we've been so consistent with what we have been doing. We haven't missed a beat. We've literally posted a show every week since May 10th, which was David's birthday.
Correct.
We've been... That was the most important part for us, is just staying consistent, especially having started something that we were talking about for like the past 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
thanks to all our listeners.
Yeah, like and people that support us on it, you know, it's been really fun. It's been a great experience learning this side of, you know, media and what's like popular in like the day to day. Who would have thought, like, podcasts?
I know.
I remember you told me, like, do you listen to podcasts? And I was always thinking, like, why would anybody listen to a podcast? like, I'd rather watch something. Like, why are people listening to podcasts? And then it just blew up.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody had a podcast. Like, even till this day, everybody has a podcast, which is totally cool.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their group of listeners that they're trying to curtail to.
Yeah.
That they're related
connects
to.
Different people.
Yeah. Did you want to give us a closeout?
Yeah, guys. So go ahead and let us know what you guys think about synchronicities, weird occurrences, anything relatable to today. We'd love to hear it. You can reach us on all socials at enter, ENTER, the number 1 and then 11, ELEVEN. And like Anderson said, we're just very grateful to have you guys basically hanging out with us. That's what these sessions are, you know, just us kicking it, sharing thoughts, sharing experiences, and we'd love to hear yours if you want to share. So
ghost stories or even weird stranger than fiction stories, because this was a really weird one for me.
Definitely very personal and near and dear to the heart. So let us know what you guys have.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Or good morning. Or good day. or whenever you're listening to it,
I said good day.
just enjoy yourself. Be happy. All right, bye.